Yeah. So thanks for making it this far. We are almost done with the basics. In the last episode, we created a list and the folders. This would do with creating a structure for your project. And if you're able to get through this, you have actually made some great progress. Um, we are going to talk about the core of ClickUp project management, which is the tags. Um, we are going to look at the tags into detail, look at the parts of the tags that help us, and we will create some few tags. So when we click in the folder, usually by default, these tags would be revealed to us. They are empty. They just have tags name. In this view that we see it, I'll touch on views in another episode where I detail features of ClickUp. But for now, we are using the list view, which shows per name, shows tags in list. There are a lot of ways you can update your tags. The list view actually gives you a chance to straight away name your tags like this, hit enter, and it will be created. Whatever thing you need to add, you can add them. That's what the list tags allows you to do. But there are many ways of creating a tags, and this is where we would go into detail on that. So when you look at the lower corner over here, you realize that there's a tags button. You can click on that, and that will open a mini tags page for you. The first page is where you give your tags name to. So we'll call it a tags name. So it could be any tags per your preference, but I'm calling this the tags name per the parts. And then this just shows you where the tags is, right? So if the tags is in list, and you want that tags to be there, fine. If you want that tags to be in another place, you can just come and change it, right? This is the assignment button, and if you're assigning the tags to people that you've invited to collaborate with, it will come in a list over here, and then you can add them. This is a description button for the tags, and it gives you a chance to type a detailed description for the tags. You can also use the / for commands to highlight your tags and to format some of your tag descriptions. So let's say this is a description. This is description for the tags. The moment I type /, it will come with a populate a list of things that I want to use to format. So that it can be like a table, it can be like a divider, it can be like a checklist, it can be like a bullet list. Anyone, if I really click on it, it changes it as a bullet list. So that's what the / does, and it applies almost everywhere. This is to add a subtag. As I said earlier in the hierarchy, there's like a sub nested tags that you can add to your tags. If you feel just naming your tags over here isn't enough, you can come and add sub tags over here. So let's say this is a sub tags. It's not really mandatory, but again, it depends on how you are creating your tags. So that's over here. And then there's a checklist. So a checklist is basically like how you do your checklist. It's a yes and no tax related stuff. So when you click on checklist, this is a checklist. I'm just typing those examples, right? And these checklists can also be sub-assigned to people in your group, right? Yeah. So if you further want to break down your tags, those can be done over here. And yeah, we move on to that. Then we move on to the last thing that's in the mini tags. We will call it as an attachment. So basically, I don't really need to explain what attachments are. We can add attachments from a lot of sources, and I think those sources are listed here. We can upload a file, Dropbox, a SharePoint, a OneDrive. There's a Box, Google Drive, a Google Docs, right? So you can drag and drop files here or attach them over here. Now, these are the ClickUps that I said earlier in the episode, in the last episode. that helps you to manage and tune your tax. So there's a priority ClickUp, which sort of like will set the priority to the tax. Whether it is very urgent or it is something that's not too urgent for you to do. There's a set date. You can set a time and a date to when you want the tax to be completed. There's edit tax. So there are tags that people add to their tax to kind of like explain to the assigned people that this is something they have to do. A perfect example I can say is when a captain screams Mayday, or like preferably anybody on a ship who is a crew screams Mayday, and all the sailors and ship crew know that there's a problem at hand. So you can use tags like that. Again, depending on how you run your company, you can add tags to your tax, sorry, to kind of like show people what you're actually doing, or kind of like explain to people on face value what they are doing. These are templates and these are dependencies. So again, dependency is also like a ClickUp. Sometimes tags have to move on, or tags are blocked because one thing has not been done. And we know in collaboration, usually departments have to do things before other things move. So we can use things like dependencies to do that, and that can be worked upon. So when you are done with all that, there's watchers. So watchers are basically people in the group of collaborators that are seeing attacks, not necessarily having access to it. So when you are done, you can just click this or use Control Enter to click this, and it creates the tags over here. You can see that the sub tags are represented as small buttons over here. This is the checklist and other tags and stuff. So let's say even if I edit a tax like I say Mayday, let's say we are calling this Mayday, right? If I hit enter, someone who is applying to the tax can see that this is a tax that is very important for people to do. When a tax is created and you click on the tax, it opens the bigger tax panel, and you can appreciate most of the things over here. So again, this is the status. When we click on the status, we see the process, and then we can change it as and when. These are the priorities. As I said earlier, you can set it to high so that somebody can see that it's a high priority. As you can share your tax to other people. These are the descriptions that I talked about. We've created a sub tax. There's a checklist. This relationship is what we spoke about in terms of dependencies. So you can add a tax dependency. You can add a dependency to show that this has to be done before something else would be done. And these are attachments. You can draw files over here. This panel is a timeline. It's a timeline that's showing what has been done on the tax so far, so that if anybody has access to the tax, they can kind of know what was done at what time, and it kind of helps in terms of tracking what everybody has done at some point in time. You can set due dates for the tax over here and all of that. This is a chat button where you can mention people on a tax to just alert them to do whatever they have to do again. So let's say maybe this is a comment. This is a comment that I'm just using an example. Can you please handle this? So this will be sent to whoever we are collaborating with. I should have added the okay, so let's say we are editing, right? If there's somebody over here, let's say myself, let's say myself, I can mention and then it would send a message to the person on the kind of tax they can handle. Again, I want you to appreciate the many ways of killing a cat with tax over here. You could something that you could do with sub tax, you can do with checklist, you can do with the messaging panel, you can do with priorities, you can do with statuses basically. So it just shows how flexible creating a tax for somebody or creating a tax for your projects is done. So yeah, we'll look at that. I hope everybody is up to breast with this. If you have any questions, you can let me know. Thank you very much. Catch you on the next episode.